So we're right before Christmas, and I'm going to share a couple of memories from Christmas, childhood Christmas. I might share some from adult Christmas or young adult Christmas. Who knows? This week I asked my oldest daughter and youngest son, because I saw them while my daughter was staying with us for a bit before Christmas here, so we can help her with her son. So I asked her if she had any specific memories of Christmas that really stood out to her. And she did. And they were interesting. They weren't, I mean, I remembered the stuff, and it was funny to me that was, But then when I asked my son, his response was, or his memories were even more funny. He was the youngest, so I'm going to share what his memory was. His memory, this is Noah. One of Noah's memories. The first one he talked about was the time Emily gave him. Emily's my daughter, the one I was talking to too. Emily gave him no tears shampoo, so he would have been what, 6 or 7 or whatever, and still crying when he had to have his hair washed because it was going to get in his eyes. And Emily gave him this shampoo that he wouldn't cry, and he was so jazzed. It was like, that's the best Christmas present I could ever have. I thought, man, it's interesting, because then I started thinking of some of the Christmases we had, which I've been thinking about them anyway. And the first Christmas that comes to mind, there's 2 in particular, but the first one that comes to mind almost always is the second year we were in Canada. We had no money, so it would have been, I would have been a Christian by then, so probably 13. I would have been 13 or 14, second or third year of being in Canada. We didn't have a lot of money, and we basically lived on beans and rice and squash. We grew squash and cabbages. We had cabbage, beans, squash. We had apple trees, so we had apples and applesauce, and we had goats, and we milked. We had our own goat's milk, and my mom made a kind of a cheese. It was kind of like what do they call it? Creme fraiche or whatever they call it, out of goat's milk. It was pretty good. You grow up eating it. It was good. But this one Christmas, since we had no money, we didn't have a lot of fancy foods or anything. Bryce, who's very creative and crafty, I think I've touched on that before. That's one of the memories I want to share too, is all the craft. The craft fairs. We used to go to craft fairs and sell craft and art. Anyway, he made a wooden box out of weathered wood. So this would have been 70, I'm going to say Christmas 71 or 72. He made these, each one of us, a box. So, and it was about, I don't know, 18 to 20 inches wide and a foot deep, and, about a foot high as well. And they were weathered barn wood, the same as what was in the house, and pieces of leather. Like, he used leather on mine. He used leather for hinges and leather as a latch to latch it down. It was an old belt, like, he cut up. It was real funky, really, really funky. I still have the box. Like, it's one of my, I would say, prized possessions, It's like, I've had it for, 50 some odd years, and it's weird to even think of that, 50 some odd years, but. And in the box, anyway, that Christmas day, in the box was food. So foods that we liked. So in my box there was, and I think all of my siblings got olives. We all love olives, or we did. So we all got these jars of olives, and grapefruit juice. I loved, I still do, pink grapefruit juice or red grapefruit juice, like the real juice, not the ruby red cocktail, but real grapefruit juice. It's tart. It's there's something like every morning when I have a glass of that, it's like, oh my God, I love this. Thank you so much for making this fruit, you know. So my kids all I think like it too. But anyway, so I had that, and then pineapple juice. And at this time, there was no Tetra Paks. The Tetra Paks were a few years later. They started selling stuff in Tetra Paks. This was cans, so I had these like one and a half, or I don't know, they're probably 2 liters, 2-liter cans, 1.96 liters of pink grapefruit juice and of pineapple juice. Another thing that I just really like it, the pineapple juice. Like now you get pineapple juice, it's mixed with apple juice and pear juice and grape juice, and to make it sweeter and less gritty, because real pineapple juice has, not gritty, but pulpy or whatever. So I still buy that pineapple juice when I can find it on sale. You can't find the canned grapefruit juice anymore. But now, right now, there seems to be a fairly regular supply of fresh squeezed, not frozen pink grapefruit juice that comes on for a reasonable price, especially in today's world. So I do that. So olives, certain kinds of crackers, cheese. Like at an early age, we all like cheese, and probably chips, potato chips and stuff. I remember the juice in the olives. That's what I remember. So that Christmas, or the one shortly thereafter, right around that same time, I remember my sister Vicky. She was into socks, like colorful socks. This must have been a little bit later on. I think she was a little older, but who knows. So she liked like interesting socks with different colors and stuff. And this one Christmas, everybody in the house got her socks. That's all she got was socks for Christmas. And I remember the pair that I bought her. They were like a heavy knit, multicolored, like not fluorescent colors, but bright colors: orange, red, yellow, green, blue, like that. So it, those colors were intermeshed all the way along, and then each toe was individually knitted, and they came up to her knee. I remember those socks. I've seen those socks since. I think I bought a pair of those socks years later for one or both of my daughters. But Vicky was, she was a bit devastated that that's all she got was socks, because she was young. And I think of some of the other gifts that I got and gave, and the meanings, the reasons behind them. And some of them I don't really want to share. So, but mostly good. Another Christmas that I remember quite well was, I don't remember exactly what year it was. Either I was 9 or 10. I could find that out by looking at the albums. I got 2 albums that Christmas. And this is one of the bizarre things. So I'm 9 or 10 years old, and my parents give me 2 albums, which wouldn't be unusual. But the 2 albums that I get from my parents, my mom and stepfather, are Ravi Shankar, which most of you probably don't even know who he is. He's a sitar player. And I think he I think he taught George Harrison how to play sitar for the probably Sergeant Pepper's band, Sergeant Pepper's Heart Club Band, for that album. So 67, 68, something like that. So Ravi Shankar became quite famous for his sitar playing. And another interesting thing about it is Norah Jones. I don't know if you know who Norah Jones is, but Ravi Shankar is Nora Jones's father, apparently. So, like, just interesting sitar music you wouldn't expect a 10-year-old now or then to be enthralled by, and I didn't even know who he was until I got the album. And the other album was even more bizarre, if you could believe it, but it was Frank Zappa. So, and Mothers of Invention. So these are the albums I got. Now, my brother Jonathan, he got Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed and The Doors. I think it was just called The Doors. A picture of Jim Morrison's face on the album. So he got Jim Morrison and The Doors and Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, and I got Ravi Shankar and Frank Zappa. So that was pretty interesting. I believe it was that same Christmas that I got a drum kit, like a serious kit. It was a Ludwig drum kit. It was a good kit. It was used. So I got that, and I got my parents had set up for me to take drum lessons. So that's how I started. I was already taking trumpet in band at school. Not by choice, trumpet. I was taking trumpet because we had a trumpet. So I played trumpet was the first instrument that I played. And I know virtually nothing about trumpet now. I was a youngster at that time, and I wish I had been more studious with the trumpet, because I really like the trumpet now. But the drums, oh, I love the drums. I think, I wanted to be Ringo. That would have been probably a more appropriate album, whatever Beatles album was out at that time. So, Sgt. Pepper's, I think we probably already had it. So, I played the drums for a while, and then one weekend when we went to, so it would have been spring in my memory, we were at my dad's house for our weekend with my dad, and we would often play football, and we played tackle football with no equipment on. We'd go up to, there was a church, and it had a great big lawn, and we would play football there, and we would play tackle football. I think we initially started playing touch, and it was just like, yeah, that's boring, let's tackle. So anyway, I broke my arm playing tackle football, and didn't play the drums for quite a while, and not at all, in fact, in Birmingham. I left when I was 11. So after my arm was healed, I don't remember ever playing drums again. And then when we got to Canada, I set the drums up in the barn, and I started to get back in there and remember what I was taught, and get so I could do my hands differently than my feet. That's the trick. And there's a point where where it kicks over, where it makes sense. You're playing the drums, some rhythm with your hands. Actually, you can play 3 different rhythms, one with this hand, one with this hand, and your foot doing something different, or 4 if you count your hi-hat, which is, I always used it as a hi-hat. So it was fun getting back into that, and we had music happening almost every night, and I went and picked some apples off of Stan Chong's tree. Stan Chong is Tommy Chong's brother, and he owned a restaurant here in town. We were picking apples in his tree. He said we could have the apples, and I climbed out too far on a branch and fell. The stupid thing is I got back up, climbed back up into the tree, climbed out on another branch and fell, but the second time I broke my arm. So that was the end of my drum kit drumming experience. When I did get the cast off, I did play drums, but not kit drums. I played conga, bongo, homemade drums with my hands, no sticks. And I still do. My rhythm is, sometimes I try to do something a little fancy or whatever, and I lose the timing, and so I got to do that more. And then I asked Emily if, because she used to hang out in school, she hung out with some guys that were jammers. I said, "Did you ever play drums at any of the jams?" She said, "Oh yeah, all the time. It's fun." Okay, and for all of you Christians who think that might be pagan, no. Drumming is fun. Drumming is good. The reason I say that is I don't know who's listening to me, listening to these podcasts. I wish I did. I wish more people would respond. There's 3 people or 4 people that I know are listening. I can see that there's 17 subscribers to the YouTube account. I don't know if those people are listening every time. And I can get a count on how many people watch the video. And only one of the I only know how to access the data for only one of the podcast providers. So, and I don't have any. There's probably a way to access the data, but I don't know how. So, hey, if you're interested, in just throw me a note and say, yeah, I listen. It's cool. Or I listen, and you need to work on something. Part of my way of looking at critical thinking is if you have to be willing to examine anything. So that includes my faith. You need to listen to people's criticisms and be able to, without bias, look at them. Now, that's extremely difficult, especially when you commit to something. So, like me, I've committed to this Christian life, and I've committed publicly. So I suspect it would take a lot now to derail me in my belief system. And then there's all these different types of Christianity. So even to change within the framework of what you believe, like for me to go from being not a charismatic. Charismatic is if you know what the word is in the world, in Christianese, it talks about, we're talking about the gift of the Holy Spirit manifesting in your life. So that's called charismatic. So, but it also means personable. Charismatic, having something that people want, that people desire. So that goes to the gospel. So, in Christianity, we believe in the gospel, and the gospel is the good news. That's what gospel means. Gospel means news. So the gospel would be as whenever there was a victory in war in Roman times, they would march through the city and announce the good news that Rome had won, or that was an example, right? So it's gospel. I think gospel is a Greek word. So Greek was sort of what English is today in the globe. It's the most universally used language. So for those that lived in Israel, they would speak Greek, and they would speak Hebrew, possibly Aramaic. So that's 3 languages, and possibly Latin, which was Rome. So even as we look at the things that we believe, philosophical or spiritual or religious or historic, as we're talking about Christmas here now, there's people that debate, first of all, whether or not there was such a person as Jesus, but whether he was born of a virgin, whether he was born in a manger. You can debate all those things. People look for reasons to not believe something that they believe will change the way that they're living their lives if they don't want the way that they're living their lives to change. And that's the bias again. So we have this inbuilt bias. So once committed to expressing a point of view, there is no God, etc., or Jesus can't be God, Jesus wasn't real, whatever. It's hard to get a person to flip on that view, that worldview. I think if you're intellectually honest, you have to examine evidence. It's not about feelings, though. I think feelings play a part in a person's belief. I know they do. Emotions and feelings, we get carried off by emotions and feelings. It's something to be aware of, because if you're basing your belief system on emotional experiences or feelings, then and like I said, I don't want to discredit that completely, but it's good to look at all aspects of something, of what you believe, and be willing to change as much as you can. Back to that bias thing again. People are comfortable living where they are, even though there's in the back of their head or in the depth of their heart or in the depth of their soul, there's a longing for something. We put it aside and or immerse ourselves in the things of this life and this world, your pet, your work, your job, your kids, your family. And it's not that those things are bad. It's just that those things are temporal. Even though there are people that will say that they don't believe there is such thing as a higher power or a higher form of being. Truth is, I'm going to pull a number out of the air, but throughout history, 95%, 98% of every human that's ever lived has believed in a higher power, in a God, some kind, some form. So then you look at embracing a being of your own creation and lifting him up and making him or her or it or that piece of art, that Buddha, that idol. You make that your God, or you look for the real God. And again, like, I really do believe at some point everybody comes to that question: why am I here, and is there a God? Those kind of questions. So I think, I want to encourage people to dig deeper. I mean, and again, I want to dialogue. If you have questions regarding Christianity or even other religions, because I have done quite a bit of research into some other religions, but I believe that given myself, my intellect, my spirit, my heart to this Jesus, and understanding him, I believe that I am saved, quote unquote, but because of the acceptance. But then the whole process of working out my salvation, being sanctified, they call it, more Christianese or religious talk. And that sanctification is God working in me and creating in me, or in all the believers, every individual believer, that being that he desires for us to be, as we move into a realization that we are adopted as sons to the King of everything, the Creator. Pretty lofty stuff, but it's also, if this is the Creator of the Bible, the God of the Bible, it's also very humbling and should produce an attitude of Christians. Believers will recognize that they are sinners. They are not meeting the mark, not hitting that level that God requires for his children to be at. So this is all the process of learning to be a child of God. I find it intriguing. It touches every part of my life, and I spend a great part of every day in prayer and meditation upon him and his word. Not empty meditation, not meditation for a sound. It's light, it's God, it's truth, it's, and so we meditate on his word. They call his word the living word, the Bible, that changes with every circumstance and fits into my life. That's it. How's that? So this was 18, and next one will be 19. And I'm going to probably play a song that I've already played before. because I'm still, as soon as I start to sing, I cough. Anyway, have a very Merry Christmas, and drop me a line on YouTube or Facebook or Messenger or whatever, and have a good Christmas. Peace. So many times I let the things in this old world drag me down, and then I start thinking on the wrong road again. I'm on shaky ground, not turning my eyes back now. Run to my first love, and I see what I really need. Rest in that holy love, and there's something about that peace, something about that peace. Yeah, there's something about that peace, something about that peace. It's like the morning time, the early morning sun and the dew. It's like the birds that sing, the song they sing draws me to you, and you can ask me how, and I'll do my very best to explain. You can ask me why. I'll never be the same, because there's something about that peace, something about that peace. Yeah, there's something about that peace, something about that peace. And from the time I was born till I met you, there was nothing to compare with that love. Through all the fight and the pain, I never was alone, never was alone. Everybody's sleeping in their own bed, walking in their own shoes, talking in their own head, sleeping in the bed, the one they choose. Everybody is walking in their own shoes. Everybody's sleeping in their own bed. It's the bed they made, the one they choose. there's something about that beat. Something about that beat. Gotta know that there's something about that beat. Gotta know there's something about that